Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to take you on a journey through one of the most fascinating stories in the world of performance, health, and human potential. It's about a molecule that has been both misunderstood and underestimated, yet over and over again, science keeps bringing it back to the spotlight. I'm talking about creatine. Yes, that same supplement you once thought was just for bodybuilders or gym enthusiasts. But as we dig into every study from the last 3 years, you'll see that creatine is no longer a secret of athletes. It's becoming a cornerstone of health, longevity, and even brain protection. So let's ask the question honestly, is there anything creatine cannot do? For years, creatine was viewed simply as a strength enhancer, a powder that helped you lift heavier or sprint faster. But over the last 3 years, research has started to reveal something much bigger. It's not just a muscle supplement, it's a molecule of life. It's naturally produced in our bodies, synthesized from amino acids like arginine, glycine, and methionine, and stored mostly in our muscles and brain as phosphocreatine. What does that mean in simple terms? It means creatine acts like a rechargeable battery. Every time your cells need energy fast, especially during high-intensity moments, whether that's lifting, running, or even thinking, creatine steps in to refill your ATP, your body's true currency of energy. Now let me take you through what the latest studies confirm. In 2025, a massive meta-analysis published in Nutrients reviewed dozens of trials and confirmed something undeniable. Creatine supplementation significantly improves both upper and lower body strength, enhances power output, and increases lean body mass across both men and women when combined with resistance training. That means if you're training, really pushing your muscles, creatine acts as an amplifier. Your cells recover faster, your sets last longer, and your body adapts better. It's like switching from regular gasoline to premium fuel for your body's engine. But what truly surprised scientists was that creatine's benefits don't stop at young athletes. The new research shows profound effects in older adults. A 2025 review in European Review of Aging and Physical Activity revealed that when seniors took creatine along with resistance training, they didn't just maintain strength, they reversed muscle loss, improved walking speed, and even increased bone density. Imagine that, a molecule once sold to gym goers is now being studied as a defense against aging itself. For older adults, muscle mass is not vanity, it's survival. It determines how long you stay independent, how well your metabolism functions, and even how clearly your mind operates. Let's talk about that. The brain. You see, your brain consumes a massive amount of energy every single day. Even though it's only about 2% of your body weight, it can consume up to 20% of your energy. And just like muscles, the brain uses ATP as its energy source. So when scientists started exploring creatine's role in brain health, the results were astonishing. Studies found that creatine supplementation could improve cognitive performance under stress, such as sleep deprivation or mental fatigue, and might even have neuroprotective benefits. In fact, recent trials have explored creatine for conditions like traumatic brain injury, depression, and neurodegenerative diseases. We are still learning, but one thing is clear: creatine is not just fueling muscles, it's fueling minds. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make something very clear. This is not hype. This is hard science. Over 12,000 participants across hundreds of trials have been studied. When scientists pooled the safety data, they found that creatine, even when taken for years, had an excellent safety profile in healthy individuals. No significant changes in kidney or liver function. No adverse hormonal imbalances. The most common side effect was a small, temporary increase in water retention inside muscles, a natural and harmless adjustment as your cells store more energy. So if anyone tells you creatine damages the kidneys, they are not reading the science of the last 3 years. And what about metabolism? Here, too, the evidence is mounting. Creatine seems to play a supportive role in improving glucose control, insulin sensitivity, and metabolic rate, especially when combined with regular exercise. It might not replace your diet, but it works alongside it, helping your cells communicate better with insulin, helping you manage energy more efficiently. For people fighting metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, or simple energy crashes, this is an exciting new frontier. But what excites me the most is how creatine interacts with human aging at the cellular level. We now know that as we age, our ability to produce phosphocreatine declines. That means our muscles, our hearts, and even our brains start running on a weaker battery. Supplementing with creatine, then, is not about gaining more. It's about restoring what we slowly lose with time. It's like replacing the fading battery in your smartphone. You don't need a new phone, you just need power again. And think about this. Creatine isn't just for athletes or the elderly. It's now being studied in vegetarians and vegans whose diets often lack creatine, rich foods like meat and fish. These groups tend to have lower baseline muscle creatine levels, so supplementation makes a bigger difference for them. One 2024 review even found measurable improvements in memory and reasoning tasks in vegetarians after creatine supplementation. That means it's not just about lifting weights, it's about lifting your capacity to think, focus, and create. Now, you might wonder, if creatine does so much, is there any limit? Well, that's what I'll explore in our next chapter. But before we go there, let's pause to appreciate what we know. In just 3 years, the landscape of creatine science has changed completely. We've gone from calling it a gym supplement to calling it a cellular health molecule. We've seen it enhance muscle recovery, protect the aging body, fuel the brain under stress, and even support metabolic control. And what's remarkable is how simple it is. A white, tasteless powder, taken daily in doses as small as 3 to 5 grams, can make such a measurable difference in how we move, think, and age. I've seen it in athletes who suddenly break through performance plateaus after months of stagnation. I've seen it in older adults who walk more confidently, who feel less fatigued. I've seen it in individuals who once thought supplements were a gimmick, now feeling sharper and more alive than they have in years. And I've seen it in patients recovering from injury or illness, using creatine not as a crutch but as a tool to rebuild vitality. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is this: creatine represents one of the rare intersections in science where something affordable, accessible, and safe delivers measurable, reproducible results across so many areas of human health. We are talking about one of the most studied supplements in the world, more researched than many prescription drugs. And it continues to surprise us. Every month, new studies appear linking creatine to improved mitochondrial function, enhanced recovery from concussions, even possible benefits in mental health. So when people ask me, Dr. Costa, is there anything creatine cannot do? I smile, because while the next chapter will explore the boundaries and limits of this molecule, we must first recognize its immense value. For now, the evidence paints a clear picture. Creatine enhances physical strength, supports the aging body, protects the brain, improves energy metabolism, and remains one of the safest nutritional interventions we know. And the best part, you don't have to be an athlete, a bodybuilder, or a scientist to benefit. You just have to understand how energy works inside you and give your body what it needs to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this conversation with honesty, the kind of honesty that builds trust between science and reality. Because while creatine is one of the most powerful, most researched, and most beneficial molecules known to modern nutrition, it is not a miracle. And that is exactly what makes it so valuable. Science is not built on miracles, it's built on evidence, on limits, on truth. And in this chapter, I want to show you where creatine's light starts to fade, not because it fails, but because we must understand its boundaries if we want to use it wisely. When we talk about creatine, people sometimes assume it can fix everything. They hear it helps with muscle growth, energy, recovery, brain function, and suddenly, it's like this little white powder becomes a promise of perfection. But let's get real. There are things creatine simply cannot do, no matter how many grams you take or how fancy your shaker bottle is. First, creatine cannot replace hard work. It cannot replace movement, discipline, or the resistance your body needs to grow stronger. I've seen people buy creatine, scoop it daily, and wait for magic to happen. But they never lift, they never train, they never challenge their body, And guess what? Nothing happens. Because creatine doesn't build muscle by itself. It gives your muscles the energy to respond to resistance, but it doesn't create the resistance. It's like having a full tank of gas but never turning on the car. You'll go nowhere. Every study in the last 3 years has confirmed this. The benefits of creatine are magnified only when combined with consistent strength training or physical exertion. Without that stimulus, it's just another nutrient passing through your body, politely waiting for a job that never comes. Secondly, creatine cannot make everyone respond the same way. There are what scientists call responders and non-responders. This difference often depends on muscle fiber type, baseline creatine stores, diet, and genetics. For example, vegetarians or vegans often respond better because they start with lower levels of creatine in their muscles. But if you already eat a lot of red meat or fish, your body might already be saturated, and you'll see smaller changes. That doesn't mean it's not working. It just means your baseline was already high. And this variability is one of the beautiful reminders that biology is personal. There is no one-size-fits-all molecule, not even creatine. And then, there are sports and activities where creatine doesn't shine as brightly. For example, endurance sports, marathon running, triathlons, long-distance swimming. The latest 2024 review in Sports Medicine Open confirmed that creatine supplementation had little to no effect on performance in single, sprint swimming events or repeated sprints in water. Why? Because creatine's power lies in anaerobic performance, short, intense bursts of energy where ATP demands spike. Endurance sports rely more on aerobic metabolism, oxygen-based energy systems, where creatine plays only a small supporting role. So no, creatine will not suddenly turn you into a marathon champion. It will not make you faster at mile 20 when your lungs are on fire. It's not designed for that. Its domain is intensity, not endurance. Creatine also cannot make up for poor recovery habits. I've met people who think supplements are shortcuts. They take creatine but sleep 4 hours a night, eat processed food, and skip hydration. Then they wonder why their performance doesn't improve. But creatine works in a system, and that system is your body. If the foundation is weak, the supplement can only do so much. It can't fix hormonal imbalance from chronic stress. It can't undo inflammation from poor diet. It can't repair what you keep breaking every day with neglect. Think of it like this: creatine amplifies what you already do well, but it cannot rescue what you refuse to change. And here's something people often forget: creatine cannot burn fat directly. It's not a fat loss supplement. Yes, it may improve your body composition by increasing muscle mass and therefore your resting metabolism, but it doesn't melt fat. Any weight loss you experience while using creatine comes from improved training output, not the powder itself. So if someone tells you creatine helps you burn fat without exercise, that's marketing, not science. Another truth is that creatine's initial results are sometimes misunderstood. When you first start taking it, especially if you do a loading phase, say 20 grams per day for a week, you may see the scale go up by a kilo or two. People panic, thinking they've gained fat. But that's not fat, that's water inside the muscle. Creatine draws water into the muscle cell, which actually supports cellular function and recovery. It's a good thing. But for those chasing aesthetics without understanding physiology, this can feel discouraging. And so, creatine cannot fix misconceptions, only education can. Then we come to safety, another misunderstood area. Creatine is remarkably safe for healthy individuals. That's clear from decades of research. But it's not for everyone. People with pre-existing kidney disease or chronic kidney dysfunction should always consult their doctor before using it. While studies show no harm in healthy kidneys, a compromised kidney system processes creatine differently. Science is careful here because even though risks are low, they are not zero for everyone. And in pregnancy, breastfeeding, or childhood, the research is still limited. So if you fall into these categories, caution and medical guidance are essential. Creatine also cannot act like anabolic steroids, though some still confuse the two. It doesn't boost testosterone. It doesn't change your hormonal balance. What it does is increase cellular energy and water retention inside muscle fibers, which makes them function and recover better. But it doesn't manipulate your endocrine system. So if you're expecting creatine to behave like an anabolic agent, you'll be disappointed. And you'll also be misunderstanding one of nature's most elegant energy systems. Let's also talk about mental performance. Yes, there is emerging evidence that creatine can help under conditions of mental fatigue, sleep deprivation, and even depression. But it doesn't turn you into a genius overnight. In young, healthy, well-rested individuals, the cognitive effects are often minimal or inconsistent. So, creatine cannot replace sleep, focus, or mindful rest. It can support your brain when it's under pressure, but it cannot do the work your habits refuse to do. Now, I want to address one more misconception, that more creatine means more results. This is not true. Taking 20 grams daily forever will not double your muscle growth. Your body's creatine stores reach saturation, usually after 5 to 7 days of loading or 3 to 4 weeks of consistent 3-5 gram daily intake. After that, any excess is simply excreted. So creatine cannot defy biology. It cannot keep adding more benefits past your cellular limit. The key is consistency, not excess. And finally, creatine cannot replace the foundation of health. A balanced diet, movement, sunlight, hydration, sleep, and purpose. Supplements enhance what's already there, but they cannot create vitality from emptiness. They are the final layer on top of a lifestyle that already respects biology. I say this because we live in a world obsessed with shortcuts, powders, pills, hacks, and quick fixes. But real transformation never comes from skipping steps. It comes from aligning your habits with how your body truly works. Creatine, when used right, is not a crutch. It's a catalyst. It multiplies effort, it does not substitute it. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we stand here looking at the data, the message becomes clear. Creatine is powerful, but it's not omnipotent. It can elevate performance, sharpen energy, support longevity, but it cannot fix laziness, replace sleep, or turn an unhealthy lifestyle into a thriving one. It has limits, and those limits remind us that health is holistic. When I ask, is there anything creatine cannot do? I ask it with both respect and humility, because what creatine can do is already extraordinary. It can enhance strength, preserve muscle, protect your brain, and empower your energy systems. But it cannot change who you are unless you are willing to meet it halfway. It works with you, not for you. And that's what makes it such a profound tool, not a miracle, but a partnership between science and self-discipline.